The threat of capital controls is ever present today, and I will discuss how, if you withdraw as little as $5,000, you could be considered a terrorist and have your funds seized. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. This isn't humor. This isn't a joke. In fact, I will show you today the documentation which proves this. So I want to connect this data in with what has happened in the recent past. But first, I want to get to this information about the U.S. Justice Department's criminal head said banks may need to go beyond filing suspicious activity reports when they encounter a risky customer. First, I'd like to say how this seems very logical. It seems legitimate. You want people who seem suspicious to not get away with criminal activity. Right away, I want to just mention that. So I'm going to go on. The vast majority of financial institutions file suspicious activity reports when they suspect that this account is connected to nefarious activity. But in appropriate cases, we encourage those institutions to consider whether to take more action, specifically to alert law enforcement authorities about the problem. So you can see Janet Napolitano's twin here at the bottom suggesting that they need to go further. So I want to discuss exactly and show you these statistics, exactly what I'm trying to talk about. And this is from the Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council. You could see the suspicious activity reporting, and at the bottom, there's some very interesting information. You can go through the whole thing for yourself to read it all, but I'll just cover this one point. Transactions conducted or attempted by, at, or through the bank or an affiliate, and aggregating $5,000 or more if the bank or affiliate knows, suspects, or has reason to suspect that the transaction, then it goes on to discuss what those instances might be. But when you have such vague terminology, such as has reason to suspect, this could very well be anything. It just could be on a hunch. And the individual could in fact have their account seized. Their funds could be seized because of not even a suspect, but a reason to suspect. And that right there is way, way too powerful in this terminology. So what if you needed that money for something very, very important and very urgent? Perhaps you didn't do anything, but you decided to take out $5,000 from your account, and perhaps that teller had a bad day and they did not want your money to be taken out for whatever reason. Herein lies the problem, where you are not able to access your money. Now, money, as much as we have issues with it, we need it. We need that money to buy our daily things, to pay our bills. This is the system that they've set up, for better or for worse. This is what we do. So we have to pay our bills, and what if those bills need to be paid immediately, or for some sort of emergency instance, and you can't get to it because of this type of action? And this is where the power of these governments and the banking institutions reaches a little too far. And that's why, first of all, I'll say right away that if you have all your savings in the bank, this is the danger that we could be facing. I want to connect this in to what we are experiencing right now. Greece. And essentially, we're worried in Greece about the capital controls that could happen. Greek banks feel tension as market faith wanes. The prospect of capital controls has again been raised as deposits continue to slip away. We're seeing this situation eroding within Greece as the conditions getting worse. People are starting to worry about capital controls. I'm definitely concerned about what's happening there, because this will be one of the dominoes to fall. Prime Minister will on Thursday hold more talks with French and German leaders, President of the ECB and this leader of the European finance ministers, going to collect together, and they're going to discuss perhaps when they get through with all of these discussions, when they can't make their payments and so on, perhaps they will implement capital controls, and this is extremely and unbelievably dangerous to the average citizen. This article was out of the Wall Street Journal, but I'm going to move on to this image here. Something that has happened in the US. And this is just the beginning, of course. It's the tip of the iceberg. Some individuals were receiving this to safeguard your account. We're making changes in how we accept cash deposits. When making a cash deposit, please be ready to show valid ID. Deposit only into accounts that list your name. And then you see other images, which I'm not going to show you today, about individuals who can't wire money in certain areas or without certain regulations and specifications that need to be abided by, and so on and so forth. They're basically making it harder for you to take your money out of the account or put it into other accounts. And this has nothing to do with safeguarding your funds, because of course, if they lock you out of your funds, it truly isn't safe at all, particularly when it's in the hands of the technocratic elite. So once again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but there are and have been many instances where this has gone much further. Look at this right here, where they actually instituted informal capital controls in Russia. This article is out of Reuters. The ruble hit its highest level in 2 weeks on Tuesday, shored up by informal capital control measures designed to head off a repeat of what happened in 1998. So this could very well help the situation out. I definitely don't deny that, because when you have these capital outflows, people get worried and it starts to snowball. The government set limits on net foreign exchange assets for state-owned exporters, while officials and banking sources said the central bank had installed supervisors at the currency trading desks of top state banks. So once again, could be beneficial. In this instance, they claim that it did help them. But what about when they lock you as an individual out of your money? That's very concerning. I definitely do not recommend keeping your savings in the bank. In my book, I talked about the Great Depression and essentially how we had this dead cat bounce. And essentially what happened was the market dropped significantly, but then it began to climb. And right here I say, naturally, they went back in to pick up the bargains. And then the gamblers decided to pour their money in and try to capitalize on this downturn. However, because the economy was supported by the Federal Reserve and other government intervention, the false boom didn't last very long. And then, of course, the market dropped a total of 90% from its peak. And this is what worries me very much, because we rely so much on the banking system, on the stock market, and we don't realize how bad things could get so quickly. This is very, very concerning to me. And people are just pouring their money into these paper assets and not thinking of the consequences. Look at this here. Robo-advisor growth hits Wall Street money managers. I can't believe I'm reading this, but now when it comes to an investment advice, would you trust a financial professional or a robot? Because a growing number of people are actually choosing the robots. They're suggesting that these algorithms could be better than people. And of course, this could actually be true. It can actually be more accurate. But what happens when we start putting everything into the hands of the robots, as if the people weren't already programmed in their positions? We know specifically that, and perhaps you're not aware of this, but if a fund manager or somebody that's basically taking care of your money, a money manager, let's say, if that individual sells you a particular fund, they may in fact be receiving incentives for one fund over another. So despite the fact that this may be not suited for you or not as suited for you as other funds, we see that they will in fact do this because, of course, they have a family to feed. They simply want to make as much money as they possibly can, and this is one terrible scenario. Look at this. A coming crackdown on Federal Reserve power? Critics want to water down the power of the New York Fed president. This is out of Politico, but the information has been covered before. They're suggesting, look, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, you're too powerful. We want to spread that power out, as it should have been from the beginning, to the different regional banks. What I would suggest is, while everyone's looking at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and saying you have too much power, what about the fact that there is a Federal Reserve at all? What about the fact that this corporation essentially has power to make the entire currency supply, expand it at their own will, and do whatever it is that they want, and nobody's even looking at that anymore? That's the concern that I have. They are imposing the real level of capital controls when they have the printing press at their disposal. And this is something else here, something that I covered recently, and I want to cover it again in a different light here, is New York City's new gunshot detection system recording private conversations. And in fact, they are, because we have seen this specifically right here. There's an individual who was shot, and it said the exchange, which was used in court, was recorded by ShotSpotter, a gunshot detection system that has been installed in over 90 cities across the country by placing a series of microphones around high crime neighborhoods. The system will be able to pinpoint them with accuracy and help out the law enforcement. So essentially what they're saying is that we're going to put these microphones all around the city, and it's going to determine where the gunshots are coming from. This absolutely could be true. It could be very helpful. But what about the moral hazard that is created here? Will this be used for activity that has nothing to do with gunshots, with the shooting, with violence? And in fact, it absolutely will be. And I'll show you that right here. We looked and have seen and have to deal with the Patriot Act for over a decade now. Look at this. Law enforcement made 47 sneak and peek searches nationwide from September 2001 to 2003. And then you continue on throughout the years, and they're using it more and more. Look at this. It's being used, in fact, for non-terrorist activities, in fact being used in many instances to report drugs. Out of 11,000 reports, only 51 or 0.5% of the requests were used for terrorism. And that is what goes to show you, as soon as they have their power to do any particular action, they're going to abuse it. They get the Patriot Act in, it's supposed to be for terrorists, but in fact it's not even used for terrorism, and rarely ever is this used for what it's supposed to be. And that's really the joke here. This is what's the problem that I see with the capital controls, because if you allow them to impose capital controls in certain instances, perhaps it's okay, this is only for the corporations, the big corporations out there, not for you, the individual. Soon, give it time, it will be for you. And that's the same thing with the bail-ins. They may do something where it's only the elite that get affected, only the billionaires and the mega millionaires. But it will come to your doorstep, I assure you, because wherever there is power, it is abused. This is the danger that we see, and this is what concerns me. So, in closing, I'll just say that if you have all your savings in the bank, you need to take it out. Where should you put it? For this video, all I'm going to say is real assets. If it's tangible, it's better off than something that's in the hands of the bankers, in the technocratic elite's hands. That's all for today. Please give me a thumbs up if you found it informative. I just want to say I'm trying my best here to put out a video every single day if I can. It's very difficult to do so. I'm trying to do as much research as I can and bring you the good intel. I'm getting all sorts of emails from you, getting all the comments, and I truly, truly appreciate it. It is you individuals, the subscribers on here, as well as the insiders, who keep me going every single day, no matter what time of the night it is. I always try to bring a video to you. And last but not least, don't forget to become an insider. The Insiders is where I give out all my best intel for free, and that is available at themoneygps.com. You just scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.